I don't know about you, but I have always loved the idea of having a conversation with a working actor about their process.
We are starting a series called Conversations on Acting, and some of the actors who've agreed to talk to us are Chris Carmack, Mark Ruffalo, Margot Martindale, Sean Astin, and more.
Conversations on Acting is a live conversation with working actors, allowing you to ask them questions.
And the way you can participate in these conversations is by signing up for our monthly subscription on our website, idon'tneedanactingclass.com. Welcome to I Don't Need an Acting Class with Milton Justice.
There was an article in the New York Times about some movie called Monsoon and some actor who, I don't know, maybe Vietnamese, I'm not sure, I'd never heard of him. Anyway, and so they interviewed him, so naturally it made me interested to watch this movie. So first of all, it's the dullest movie I've ever seen. I mean, absolutely nothing happened. But like so many things, and I invite all of you to watch things and comment on them, because I think it's important that you are constantly not an audience. I'm reminded of when Teo and I went to see a Donald Margulies play, and we walked out of the theater, and as we were walking up the street, and I said to him, so now tell me, what didn't work about this play? And so he listed off all the things that were wrong with it. And I used to do the same thing with Chris Petrovsky. He's like, so tell me what you thought about the play, what worked, what didn't work. And I think it's an important thing to do. I think it's important for you. If you watch a film, if you watch a television show, it's move out of being just somebody who's an audience that says, show me. You can do it with action movies. We subscribe to everything. HBO Max, Apple Plus, the Criterion Channel, Broadway HD. I mean, there's nothing we don't subscribe to because so many of them have quality things. And so the other night I was too exhausted. And so I thought, oh, good. Rambo 2 is on. And so I had a wonderful evening watching Rambo 2. And I had remembered, I haven't seen it since it first came out, which I can't even remember when that was, but I remember him doing this huge speech at the end of it, playing a Vietnam vet, where he had the line, he said, what do you want, Rambo? And he said, I just want this country to love us as much as we love our country. And years ago when I saw it, the audience screamed with applause and said, yes, go, Sly, go. And I'd forgotten about that, but I found it very, very relaxing. I don't do an analysis of Sylvester Stallone in the Rambo, so that's why I watch it. It's so relaxing. Anyway, so when I was watching this movie, and I'm constantly aware of things just to say, okay, be aware of this, be aware of this, be aware of this. And one of the things that I noticed was as he's driving in the taxi cab in Saigon, which apparently is where he was born and lived till he was 6 years old, so it's been 30 years. It was almost as if somebody said, so I want you to look out the window, and that's all he did. So I thought, boy, this is just like such an easy, specific thing to take care of. You have to have a relationship with everything around you. And in having that relationship with everything around you, it gives you something. You all remember Robin from the Czech Republic, who, of course, has been stuck in the Czech Republic, the way Raphael has been stuck in Sweden. And so he was cast in a commercial that's supposed to be making people sensitive about deaf people. And so he gave me the plot. He's a guy, he plays the mixer for a band. And so he walks into the kitchen, his mother has on headsets, walks into the living room where his grandfather has on headsets, apparently to block out the noise of the band rehearsing. And then he goes to see his grandmother in front of the television, and she's deaf, and she has no headset. So at any rate, and so now the thing about it is, this is one of those things where you think, well, what the hell do I do with that? You know, I'm supposed to get up from the mixing thing. The camera's going to follow me past the kitchen, past the thing where I see the grandmother in front of the television set, go and get her and bring her into the band rehearsal. And I just wrote to him and I said, have a specific relationship with everything and figure out why you got up. And so he'd already been cast, obviously because of his look. It's a commercial. But the point is, those little things, I think, are the things that separate really actors, not really good actors, actors, from people who are just doing blocking. Stella had a line once where she said, the director's job is to tell you to come through the door, cross the room, and leave down the hall. How you do it is your job. And that's really it. It's like, I think it's gearing ourselves to all the possibilities that exist. And I said to him, so first of all, figure out why. It's simple. Don't complicate it. The bands are a bunch of losers, and it's just like they're driving you crazy, so I got to get out of here. And so then you see your mother with her headsets on. It's funny. Of course she is. Your grandfather has his headsets on. It's slightly annoying. It's slightly annoying because how dare he not be supportive? He was in a band. And then you go see the grandmother who has nothing on and she's deaf, and you watch her looking at the television. Do you see? In other words, these are not complicated things. These are, I have a relationship to everything around me. I am someplace, and I have a relationship to it. Kareem brought it up in our session about living off your partner. And again, you're going to have a relationship with your partner that gives you something. It's the reason I always talk about the Oprah action. The Oprah action, and I said, what is it that is consistent about everybody that talks to Oprah on her show? What did you say it was, Kareem?
Oh, it's like reporting. It's just, dictating. It's not really...
It's not important.
It's not important,
yeah. It's chatting. Because that's what happens when... That's what you do when you live off of your partner, who happens to be Oprah Winfrey on a talk show. I mean, if any of us said, so what was it like living through COVID-19 in New York? If we were on Oprah, living off of Oprah because we have an attitude towards Oprah, we would imagine if you were on Ellen DeGeneres. I mean, right away, your whole relationship to Ellen is going to make everything funny. It's all going to be funny. It's all going to be charming. It's all going to be chatty. Whereas if you were talking to the governor of the state about your experience during COVID-19, it's like your whole relationship, because it's him, is going to be different. The performance is different because you're living off of your partner. And I think that's really the issue. It's that the more that our relationship to the world around us is alive, the more it gives us to play, the more it gives us to live off of. So I think all of that is really really important. Even if you're, at the moment, Raphael is trying to build his relationship to the people on trial in Nuremberg. It's the same thing. You build a relationship to them, and then you don't have to work so hard. You don't have to work so hard because the relationship you have to your partner tells you how to play it. I mean, it makes absolute sense. If you were telling the story of John Margulies to a room full of young photographers, the dialogue might be the same, but the way you play it is going to be different because of your relationship to the partner. It's totally different if you're at Columbia University and you're giving a lecture to a group of master's students in the architecture department. And again, it can very, very easily be the same dialogue. But your relationship to the partner helps you. It helps bring you to life. So notice when you're doing that. Me trying to explain to my friend Mark Donnelly about how to use his computer has built into it 20 years of anger at his stupidity, of forgetting the simplest things, as opposed to when I have the same conversation with my sister. I'm enormously patient because I know this is really difficult for her. She was out of the workforce for 17 years because she was taking care of our parents, and when she started to apply for jobs, and she called me and she said, they want me to do a resume. How do I do that? Anyway, I mean, have you ever tried to talk to someone about how to create a resume on Word? Anyway, you get the point. So the issue is, I mean, I noticed it because I was so annoyed at the actor. I was annoyed because they got the film on and it was such a boring piece of film. But I was annoyed at the actor who's sitting in the back of a taxi. He was sitting in the back of a taxi looking at Saigon 30 years after he'd left it as a 6-year-old. I mean, even if I say it, it sounds so interesting. I think once you get used to the idea that you are someplace or you are with someone and you can live off of them and have a relationship to it, to me, this is all helpful because it keeps you don't have to work so hard.
I Don't Need an Acting Class is hosted and created by Milton Justice. Senior producer is me, Walker Vreeland, and director of online media is Evan Sollers. Music by Jeffrey Keyser Trio, May This Be Love, from their album On My Way to You. If you have a moment, please rate us and review us on Apple Podcasts. It helps other people find us. And if you would like to send an email, if you have a question for Milton, you can do so at questionsformilton@gmail.com. Another way to get in touch is on Instagram at I Don't Need an Acting Class. Thank you so much for listening, and we will see you back here next week.